Enterprises, ITD, and Jack in the Box. Hey, there's an event coming up with the Finogi Coalition that we're going to talk about in just a little bit with Waneka Dioro and Joni Kerr of the GCC Eco Warriors. That's coming up. But first, let's go in with Senator Clynt Ridgell. Good morning, Senator.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So anyway, we had the GM of the Guam Power Authority on yesterday. I don't know if you caught the interview, maybe saw the story in the news, but man, boy, did he kind of go in on your with the release that you'd come out with. Can we just kind of start there, if you want to just lay out your concerns that the general manager was reacting to, and then maybe your reaction to his reaction?
Sure. So I was just talking about the reaction to the reaction, and then there's going to be a reaction to that reaction. There's going to be a reaction to the reaction to the reaction. But I know how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so never-ending reactions. So we should be proactive instead of reactive. Anyways,
right. Yeah.
So the concerns I have are that well, number one, I'm concerned about the procurement and how the contract was significantly changed for Ukadu, right? So they've got this plan for this huge power plant in Ukadu. They had to significantly alter the contract, the scope and terms, including how much it'll cost. So there's going to be an increase to the cost of about $4 million a year. They want to move part of the power plant down to Cabras. So these are a lot of changes from what was awarded. So I wrote to the public auditor and asked the public auditor to take a look into that. In addition to that, I wrote to the Attorney General to ask him, because of these delays that because they've been having problems with obtaining permits for this project. It's caused delays. And because of those delays, now the contract is going to run at least 4 years beyond the 2045 deadline for 100% renewable energy. So we passed the bill into law last term that requires 100% renewable energy by 2045. So my concern is that now this contract is going to go beyond 2045 for this power plant. Is that in violation of the law? And that's all I asked the Attorney General to weigh in on. So yeah, I asked these questions of the Attorney General and of the public auditor because these concerns were brought up to me, actually. I'm not even the one who thought of these concerns. They actually were brought up to me by constituents who said, hey, what about this? And I said, oh, that's a good question. I'll ask it. So I asked these questions, and so yeah, and if you want my reaction to their reaction, my only reaction really is that I wish they would focus on the facts and quit turning this into a personal thing, quit making personal attacks, and quit distracting by bringing up other issues. Focus on the facts. The facts are they're the ones who had problems with obtaining the USC EPA permits at Ukadu, requiring them to shift around and change everything that they're doing with their contract and move part of the power plant down to Cabras. They're the ones who wanted to build it at Ukadu in the first place. This is all their project. This is all they're doing. So that is something, I disagree with GM Beneventi, or he's trying to frame this as me throwing a monkey wrench into it. I'm not the one who's delaying the project. This is all they're doing. They're the ones that are having difficulty obtaining the permits, and they're the ones having to shift around from a major. And of course, they'll talk about it in different ways. But the bottom line is they're shifting gears from going for a major permit to this minor source air permit, and it's causing all these delays. And so I'm not the one throwing monkey wrenches, and unless they're afraid that there's a merit to my questions. I mean, all I did was ask questions of the public auditor and the Attorney General. I'm not telling them stop the project. In fact, they've often told me I have no authority to stop the project. They like to say that the legislature has very limited authority when it comes to the utilities. They tell the legislature basically to stay out of it and let the CCU and the PUC handle it. And so I have, since they awarded the contract, I haven't done anything to say stop this contract. I haven't tried to introduce any bill that says stop this contract, stop the power plant. I haven't done any of that. They awarded the contract, they proceeded with it. Now they're having problems. And because of these problems that they're having, it brought up these questions. Questions on whether or not it'll run over the time of 2045, and questions of whether or not their procurement was done properly. So I asked those questions. and that's it.
So what do you make of that? I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how anyone feels about this issue, I mean, you are a sitting senator, and last time I checked, I mean, you're kind of allowed to ask questions, write
Right.
letters, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just absolutely. So, you know, it's disappointing that they would take that stance that, try to frame it as such that I'm throwing a monkey wrench into something when I'm not the one who held this up. They're the ones having problems getting this off the ground. All I'm asking is whether the procurement was done properly and whether or not they can go beyond the 2045 deadline for 100% renewable energy. And so far, the public auditor has said he doesn't have jurisdiction over the matter either. So that answers that question, I guess. I mean, I'm not a procurement expert. That's why I asked the public auditor. I think it does look strange to me, but I asked the public auditor.
What about the AG? Any response?
And I'm waiting for a response from the Attorney General. I haven't received a response yet. My understanding is they're working on it. So they're taking a look at the legality and all the different issues involved with that. And that's why I asked them, can they do this? And as you said, I believe I have every right to ask those questions. So yeah, framing it that this is somehow something other than it is just wrong. That's why I sent out a press release yesterday saying, please just focus on the facts, quit distracting, quit making personal attacks. I've never made any personal attacks against them. I talk about the CCU, the PUC, and GPA in general when I disagree with what they're doing, but I never come out and say, call out someone personally.
Have you had any conversation with your colleague, the procurement chair, Senator Sabina Perez, about this?
No, I haven't.
So
I did talk to her about something else with relation to this whole issue, but I didn't specifically ask her if she thought there was an issue with the procurement. No, I didn't.
So are you satisfied though with the public auditor's response? Do you believe that he doesn't have the jurisdiction?
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm not a procurement expert. I'm not an expert on this law. The public auditor is, not only the public auditor, of course, he's a former senator, speaker, and a former justice on Guam, chief justice on Guam, as a matter of fact. So he's he understands laws. So he took a look at it and feels he doesn't have the jurisdiction. Now it's a little bit confusing. It's basically like what he's saying, if I understand correctly, is he's saying that they could have gone out to re-procure it, but essentially because there's no procurement protest before him, he doesn't have any jurisdiction to really weigh in. So it's kind of like, well, no one complained, no one filed a protest, so I can't really say anything about it. It's kind of what I'm understanding what he means. And if I'm misrepresenting what he means, I apologize. I maybe misunderstand what he means, but that's my understanding, was basically like, well, there's no procurement protest, so I don't really have any jurisdiction. But I think had someone filed a protest within the timeline, then maybe he would have had jurisdiction to speak on it. But even then, he probably wouldn't be able to speak on it until they go through the appeal process, right? So it's kind of it's one of those sort of catch-22s.
Right on. So you're just waiting now for the AG's response.
Yeah.
Did he? I'm not sure if Chris asked, because I just walked in, Senator. Your response to Mr. Beneventi saying that this whole process was vetted. He said it was vetted through the PUC, the CCU. It wasn't something that he just decided, on his own.
Yeah. That's what that's what I basically said. I said, hey, the GPA, CCU, and PUC decided this, and they got it passed, and I'm asking, is it proper? So, but remember, this is a contract that was initially awarded. They had problems getting the permits, however they want to classify it, whether they classify it as problems or whatever. They had delays because they were having some difficulties with the permitting process, which resulted in delays. Because of the delays, they went back to the drawing board, so to speak, reconfigured the contract. And yes, of course, GPA had to go through the CCU to approve of reconfiguring this contract. CCU had to go to PUC to approve of reconfiguring the contract. And they had to go to US EPA to approve of giving them an extension or changing the consent decree. Because the consent decree basically just says, look, all the US EPA really wants is the US EPA is saying, comply with the Clean Air Act. You know, you're out of compliance. You've been out of compliance for a long time. You need to comply. It's the GPA, the CCU, and the PUC who offered this power plant as their answer for complying with the Clean Air Act. So then they entered into that agreement with the US EPA. The US EPA says, okay, here's your plan. You're going to build a power plant by such and such a date, and that should bring you into compliance. Okay, go for it. If you can do it and get into compliance, then that will satisfy the Clean Air Act. Then they weren't able to get the power plant built on time because of these delays now, due in part to permitting problems with the US EPA over the major source air permit. Now they've had to go back, reconfigure the whole contract, put part of the power plant down at Cabris, and then go back to the US EPA and reconfigure their consent decree and say, hey, we had these problems. Can you allow us to do this now in order to comply with the Clean Air Act?
All right.
Make sense? Or
all right. Yeah.
Was there anything else, I guess, that you wanted to say about this whole thing?
Nope. I don't know what else to say. I've asked the questions.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for answers.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, I have concerns about this whole issue. That's why I asked the question. That's why I asked the public auditor if this was proper. Public auditor has said that he has no jurisdiction over it, essentially. And now I'm waiting on the Attorney General to see if it's proper that this contract will run beyond 2045. And 2045 is the date we're supposed to be at 100% renewable energy.
All right. Thanks, Senator.
Thanks, Senator.
Happy Halloween.
There you go.
Stay healthy.
Stay healthy, right on. Yeah. I feel like we should get a reaction to their reaction that they're going to react to his reaction.
That's what I was saying.
I got you. Okay, Senator. Hey, quick break. We're coming back with more of the link next. It's 9:48 on this Friday morning.
Catch Sports
This
Link
year,
on
Giving Tuesday falls on November 30th.
And though our community is still facing some of the most challenging of times, there's no better time
to volunteer